What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some news concerning Lennox Lewis and Anthony Joshua. You know, Lennox Lewis, by popular demand, I was told to counterpunch Lennox Lewis's blow-by-blow, play-by-play of Joshua Usyk. I know it's a little late, but better late than never, okay? And this is what Lennox Lewis started tweeting round by round, okay, or during the fight. And it was, quote, AJ is not getting away from Usyk's left hand. He needs to command this fight with the jab. Hashtag Joshua Usyk. Okay, well, it's funny. That's exactly what Rob McCracken told him to do. You know, establish the jab, try to be more light on your feet. You know, but the jab was definitely one of the weapons that Rob McCracken told him to use. But the problem was it was the execution, okay? He wasn't able to execute that jab. And I think because he was worried about what was coming at him, you know, the movement, the constant movement, the footwork, the head movement. It was constant. It never stopped. It wasn't a time where Joshua got the opportunity to jab or to use that jab in authority because Usyk kept moving, okay? And the second tweet was, Usyk is in good shape. His movement and accuracy is impressive. Can he keep up this intensity? Now, that was a very good question by Lennox Lewis because it's like, hey, we've seen Alexander Usyk come out quick, fast twitch muscle. The reflexes was there. The head movement was there. We just got through talking about that the last tweet. But the question was, would the extra weight be a problem for Usyk? Because Usyk is not normally or naturally a heavyweight fighting professionally. But I have to remind you, Alexander Usyk started at heavyweight, okay? He decided to, I guess, start at cruiserweight professionally for whatever reason. I don't know. You know, maybe he acknowledged that he was a smaller heavyweight, so he might want to try a smaller weight class. You know, he's too big for light heavyweight. So, you know what I mean? He's bigger than those guys, but he's not as big as the guys that we have fighting today normally, right? White, Joshua, Tyson, Wilder. He's not those dudes, okay? So he's not on the big end. So, so, you know, could he keep up the intensity? Well, obviously he showed us that. Not only did he keep it up, he kept the fire on Joshua all night, okay? And the next one was AJ needs to move his head. Fight the big man fight and then set up his power right punch. Now, here's the thing. Anthony Joshua did land the right at times. I think still when he landed it wasn't the hardest right hands. You know, they were hard enough to bust Alexander Usyk's face up. As you can see, Alexander Usyk's face was, in fact, affected by punches. But I think he has, you know, a condition of thin skin, just like the Klitschko's and other people on other parts of the world that have thin skin, okay? You know, you're getting hit with gloves by a professional punch, okay? So something's going to happen, especially if you have thin skin. It's only going to show more. So the power right hand, the punch that he was using, he wasn't throwing it. He would land it at times, but he wasn't following up on it, okay? So, you know, but Lennox Lewis is also right. AJ needed to move his head. And when we went back and looked at the Anthony Joshua Usyk fight, we seen Joshua a lot of times when he was trying to figure out Alexander Usyk, he wasn't moving his head. So while he was moving his jab, when he was trying to find the range for the jab and trying to make that jab stick to Usyk and catch him at a certain distance, he wasn't moving his head. That's why Usyk was able to come in, you know, feint and get past that left foot, have that right foot of his outside that left foot, and he was able to inflict damage either with the right hook or the straight left or the left hook off the back foot. So, you know, but AJ was not moving his head. So good call by Lennox Lewis. The next one, the left hook wins the fight for Usyk. Okay, the left hook was the same punch that buckled Joshua. And everybody was like, holy shit toes, right? because Joshua took a step back. He definitely buckled. This was better than the punch that Alexander Povetkin hit him with, right? And it made him, that put him off his setting and blooded his nose. Also, Joshua's nose was beginning to bleed in, I think, the 7th and 8th round, later in the rounds. Okay, like either right before the championship rounds or during the beginning of the championship rounds. So the next one was from Lennox Lewis. Both are headhunting. Need some body work if either wants to change momentum. You know, this is very also a great point from Lennox Lewis, because during my live stream, I was telling people constantly, like, look, go to the body, go to the body. They even had to, you know, like coach Joshua to go to the body because he's so used to headhunting. You know what I mean? And Usyk was throwing punches to the body, but I think those punches were just really throwaway punches to score for one, but they were punches to throw him off to set up the left upstairs. But nobody was really committing to the body until Joshua started. And again, he was only throwing one punch at a time a lot of times. So it wasn't enough to do real damage to take the air out of the tire of Alexander Usyk, okay? You know, and then it got to the point where AJ needs a knockout to win. Joshua Usyk, #boxing. So it got to, in Lennox Lewis' eyes, it got to the point, well, hey, Joshua's behind. Joshua needs a knockout. He needs something. He needs a knockout or a knockdown or something that will make this fight interesting, okay? But, you know, Lennox Lewis thought that he lost, okay, by that point, okay? Now, the strange thing is, his corner was telling him beautiful, wonderful, and all this, that, and the other, and they shouldn't have been telling him that. They should have been telling him exactly what Lennox Lewis is tweeting on this tweet here. So that was another problem. It was, you know, like delusion of grandeur. Like you're pulling wool over this fighter's eyes. Tell this guy the truth, right? So at the last tweet was Boxing 101 Usyk. Okay, so that just showed that Alexander Usyk, you know, is a superb boxer in the eyes of Lennox Lewis, and I think he is. I agree with Lennox Lewis. That's why I was able to, you know, run down, because a lot of people think I have a problem with Lennox Lewis. You know, a lot of things we agree on, and we agreed tonight, or that night rather. And I think that Anthony Joshua, if they didn't have this deep-rooted bad blood beef, whatever you want to call it, between, you know, the kohai and the senpai, you know, so to speak, the senior man and the junior man, you know what I mean? Or the senpai, the kohai. I think Lennox Lewis could teach Anthony Joshua a lot about fighting tall and being effective fighting tall. You know, he might not have wanted to sign him with PBC Fox or come over to the Americas and showcase over here, you know, but I think training-wise, Lennox Lewis could train Anthony Joshua to be an absolute beast. Could he be better than Lennox Lewis? I don't know. It depends on, is Anthony Joshua to the peaking point, right? But I know that he can teach Anthony Joshua a lot about, you know, fighting, a lot about boxing tall, a lot about, you know, setting up the right hand from the jab. You know what I mean? And that would be, I feel, a great virtue for that. But you know, of course, he won't get rid of Rob McCracken, and bringing Lennox Lewis in, I think Rob McCracken and Lennox Lewis would bump heads, I think, due to the statements and the comments that Lennox Lewis said about Rob McCracken, him being a third grade teacher, and of course, other people or other trainers being professors in college. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Lennox Lewis's blow by blow, tweet by tweet breakdown between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.